It's recording. Awesome. Hello, YouTube world. We are back for another interview. I'm with a good friend of mine, Marci Miller. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be on here. I'm glad you asked me to speak. I have a lot to share and I have a lot to say, so I'm excited.
Now, there's a lot of people who don't know who you are. Could you give a brief introduction about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Marci Miller. As Mr. Jared said, I am a crisis intervention specialist. I also co-founded a self-development company and was running that for about 3 years. And I'm soon to be anger management coach, and plan to work my way up the ladders and ranks through doing that. So I've been in the helping people business and industry, self-development industry for about 3.5 years now. And so before that, I was a professional hair and makeup artist for 10 years. So I've transitioned in from making people look beautiful on the outside to helping people make beautiful, help people make them feel beautiful on the inside. So.
And when did that transition take place?
In 2017, I was actually, I've dealt with a lot of my past, and it came to a point where I wasn't happy doing hair and makeup anymore. I wanted to help people. So I was at like a place of, I either go for what I truly want, where my heart is, or I could stay stuck and be content in where I'm at. And so I decided to help people. Like I truly want to do that. That's in my heart to do. It's always been in my heart to do. But in order to do that, I know that I have to help myself first and foremost. So like my whole personal transition, my whole self-development started in 2017, and that's kind of led me up to where I am today. But helping people has always been on my heart to do ever since I can remember.
What happened? Was there an event that happened in 2017 that inspired you to pursue that?
Yes, there was an event. Well, I wouldn't say an event. There was a particular person that I ended up meeting, and this person, I ended up getting into a relationship with this person, and they were doing what I wanted to do. They were speaking, they had the same visions that I had as far as helping people, were concerned. And that basically gave me the push and the motivation and inspiration to kind of go for it. Because I say, well, if they can do it, and, I have them there to support me and help me along the way, then, now's the best time. I've been asking for it. I've, prayed about it, and God put it in my lap. God put the right person in my lap at the right time. So that person coming into my life definitely supported me in making that transition.
What was it like growing up for you? I know with the different hobbies that you have, different interests that you have, were you a creative kid growing up?
Not, I wouldn't want to say creative. I was athletic. I had 3 older brothers that I'm trying to chase after and, do what they do. And so I was always athletic and, doing basketball, volleyball, track, all that type of stuff. So yeah.
But you weren't a tomboy?
I definitely was a tomboy. My dad actually tried to give me layers in my hair, messed up, so I had to get a chili bowl whenever
Oh
I was
no.
3 years old. I still have pictures of it, but yeah, so the only way they could fix it was giving me a chili bowl around my head. So people didn't know if I was a boy or a girl. So yeah, it was cool. Fun times.
Fun times. And what got you into the hair and makeup industry?
Um, I guess you could say I always had a desire to be creative, a desire to, I guess, be girly and kind of prissy. I had a desire to be that way. I was just never taught. I did have a mom in my life, but she was also a tomboy as well. So I never had like the girly role model and everything like that. So growing up, I guess in my high school years is whenever I really started getting interested in it. And I started doing my makeup. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, your makeup's so good. Will you do mine?" And it basically just snowballed from there. Every dance, every, going out, going to the movies to go see people or whatever we did back in high school. Um, yeah, so it was basically people saying, "Oh, I like what you're doing," which was validation for me that, hey, maybe I am pretty good at this. And also, I realized I could make money from it because people were like, "Hey, I'll pay you X amount of money to do my makeup for prom," or like I said, the dances and gatherings and stuff like that. So I'm like, I could do something with this. Let me see what I can do.
So you had the entrepreneur spirit at an early age.
Yes, I guess you could say that. I was, yeah. I was kind of rowdy as a kid. It was kind of hard for people to control me. And so I just kind of always been in my own world, kind of did my own thing. Because I grew up with three older guys. So me as the only girl, I was pretty much, in my own space most of the time anyway. Because I was always told by my dad and even my brothers, "I can't do it because I'm a girl. You can't go here because I'm a girl. Oh no, you can't do that because you're a girl." So I was always told I couldn't do stuff because I was a girl.
What were some challenges you had growing up? I know you mentioned just growing up with older brothers. Was that a challenge? Were there any other challenges that you had to deal with?
Yeah, definitely. So of course, growing up with three older brothers has its own set of challenges. One can only assume what some of those might be. This is whenever wrestling was popular. So I was the doll, the rag doll for my brothers doing WWT. What is it? WWE.
WWE?
There you
Yeah.
go, yeah, WWE, and then power bombs and throat smashes. I was the dog for that always, so I was always getting hurt, but it made me strong. But aside from that, I was molested by my close cousin for many years. In fifth grade, I was walking home from school with a friend of mine that lived down the street, and this man actually exposed himself to me. He whistled at me and my friend, and we looked over, and he was touching himself. Um, and I did tell my parents, but they didn't press charges or anything. The next year, he did the same thing. I was in sixth grade, and that year we did press charges. And to kind of complete that story in itself, last year in 2019, I got called by a detective and they asked me if I could go on trial and testify against him and on behalf of a 9-year-old little girl that he molested. And so I went on trial and did that, and he ended up getting 3 life sentences for everything he's done sexually, everything. So
Why did it take so long to get him to that point of to get him into jail and whatnot?
I believe that it's the system. He had offended, there's girls that even I know personally that he offended after that. And I'm talking about actually physical assault um, that he got charged for. So I at least know of 2 or 3 other sexual assaults that he had on other young girls. He was, a sex offender. He was on, a bunch of other stuff. But that's what I was wondering too. Why did it take, 6, 7 times of this man sexually assaulting women for him to actually be like sentenced? I know he was in jail for a little bit of time with the other people, but this 9-year-old little girl was the last straw. They just sent him in for good and locked the key.
And you mentioned how your parents didn't press charges the first time. Was there a reason for that, or did they explain why? Or
Yeah, they later explained to me that they didn't want to press charges because and this kind of made me feel some type of way when they said this, or as my mom said this. That okay, because I was in 6th grade and he was definitely as older than my oldest brother, so he had to be a good 20, 23 at whenever he did this. Um, but they said that they didn't want to mess up this man's life at such a young age, even though he chose to do that. Um, and they didn't know if I was lying or not, or if we were just fibbing or exaggerating or something like that. And if we were, then that would have messed up his life. So I guess they wanted to wait till the second time that it happened. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. And he lives 2 minutes away from like the house that I grew up in. And the house he lived in and grew up in was in the same neighborhood as my cousin. They lived like 2 minutes away. And so yeah, I was always so scared because I knew he knew who I was. I was always so scared that he was going to come in my window at night, follow me, see me going to my cousin's house and get me or something like that. So I was always very scared of that fact.
You mentioned about your cousin. Are you still in contact with him? What happened to that story?
No, not a lot of people know about it. Only my mom, my dad, and like my sister-in-law know about it. But no, I don't have any communications with him. We don't have any communications with that side of the family now. But yeah, so I don't speak to him. I haven't acknowledged him. I haven't said, "Hey, I remember what you did to me." I haven't done any of that. I just kind of know it happened, and I'm just kind of moving on.
And how old were you?
I was about, I'd say, from like 9, 10 to like the 8 to about, I don't know, about 9, 12. I don't know. It's fuzzy because I try to remember. I know it was definitely between 8 to 11, in between those years, sporadically. Because at 12, I remember how I was at 12, and I would have been like, "No, what are you doing? No, stop. That's no." So by that time, around that time, is whenever it happened sporadically.
So I'm sure whoever's going to watch this interview, maybe it's a little girl's watching this interview. What is some advice you could give them if someone is in that situation, or what advice could you give parents that maybe suspect that their kid is in that situation?
Well, I didn't feel well. Okay, this is this. Okay, I didn't feel safe saying that it happened to me because I didn't think anyone would believe me because no one believed me with him, and I said something then and no one believed me. And it was happening before then, but because I was younger, but I didn't feel safe. I didn't think anyone would believe me, and I didn't want to break up my family. Like I knew I just didn't want anything to happen with my family, how it was going, and I didn't want to be the person to cause the rift in the family. That's what I was thinking in my head. So the advice I would give to parents is having like keeping an open space, having an open communication with your kid, and doing that will allow them to feel comfortable telling their parents stuff, and they won't be scared of the repercussions, or the parent will get mad or won't believe them or something of that nature. And for whoever that is happening to, as far as rape or molestation, um, I almost felt like stuck in that time, in that moment. Um, so I'd say first talking to someone about it, whether it be a friend, teacher, aunt, talking to someone about it, especially if you're young, because you may not know you don't know what to do. You're young. So talking to someone about it first and foremost, and maybe they can guide you and support you in how to navigate and deal with the further adult things that need to happen from that situation. So I mean, definitely if you're a young girl, talk to someone about it and ask what to do, or if you're scared about what people are going to say, or if people won't believe you, um, the worst thing you can do is hold on to it and not say anything for a lot of years. That'll eat you up inside, and you'll eventually end up displacing that anger that you've hid and suppressed for so long. That's going to displace in other areas of your life, whether it be relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, just regular people, work. Um, so speaking up about it is the key thing to do. And from there, I think stuff will flow naturally on on how to go about it effectively.
Well, I'm sure there's someone that's watching this interview that is in that situation, and um, I'm honored that you shared what you shared, because you may have prevented something bad from happening or prevented something further from happening for someone. So thank you for your openness and vulnerability.
Of course.
Yeah. Do you struggle with PTSD because of those situations?
Um, well, yes. I mean, I do notice certain behaviors that I do that are a result from those situations and other situations that have happened to me. Um, in my, I'm 28 now, so there's a bunch of stuff that's happened to me. But yes, I have had experienced PTSD, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. I've uh, loneliness. Like I've experienced probably every emotion and feeling underneath the sun because of situations that I didn't talk about, that I thought would go away if I didn't speak about it. So yeah, I've had tremendous emotional and mental issues, if you will, because of those things. So for sure, I've had to do a lot of work, to accept and move forward and take accountability for certain situations.
I want to fast forward to you, getting into kind of the makeup industry, industry, quote unquote, in high school.
Hmm.
I know right now being an entrepreneur is a big thing for a lot of middle school, high school students. What are some things that you've learned? Has the internet really helped you in that area, or were you doing that before, you know, before social media, before the iPhone? Um, I'm just kind of curious when you started and when you went into the entrepreneur game.
Um, so your question is, when did I go into the entrepreneur game?
Yeah, in high school, so you were kind of involved in that and being like a young entrepreneur in a sense.
Mhm.
Um, were you doing that before the iPhone, before social media, or did the iPhone and social media help propel kind of that hobby or that desire?
So, okay, whenever I was in high school, I didn't have an iPhone or anything like that. I had like, I don't know, a flip razor or something like that. So, I, but we did have internet though. So how the internet would help me was I would go, look up how to do things. But where I really learned how to do makeup was I bought books of big, it says one's called like Face to Face, and it's by like oh my gosh, I don't want to mess up his name. But so I would go look at these books, and that's how I would learn how to do it. I would look and do it on my eye, and look and did I do it right? And then if I didn't do it right, how could I make it look like that with what I have, you know? So I would learn through books. Now, when social media or iPhone and the internet started really coming out and becoming popular, oh yes, like it it helped me tremendously, like 1,000 times more, because now I can connect with anybody in the world. I could look up basically any information that I need. I could network and market. I could promote. I could do everything really that I didn't think I could do unless I was big time or running a commercial on TV or getting on a TV show. Like I didn't think that was possible, like before internet and everything came about. I didn't. I just thought you had to make it big before you can do those things.
That's really important for people to hear because they have an iPhone, they have the internet, they have social media, and yet they still think that, oh, well, I need a bunch of other things before I start a business, before I pursue a hobby, before I do all these things. And yet you were doing that without those tools, which, which tells me that I think at the end of the day, enough with the excuses, just go out and do it, whether it's just buying a book and doing makeup on yourself and just really learning, just going out and just doing it and not worry about the tools. The tools will come later.
Yeah, I would just like, yeah, I would have to do a lot of footwork, and I would do a lot of footwork with my makeup done, and everyone would be like, "Oh, who did your makeup?" Oh, I did. That's how I would do it, in person, meeting people. But yes, there's no excuse nowadays. There's no excuse at all. You have everything you need at your fingertips, and when people say that, it's the truth. Like you can literally do everything that you want to do right where you're at. And yeah, there's literally no excuse why you can't do it other than laziness, procrastination, fear, all the self-limiting beliefs that mentally hold you back. There's nothing physically, even lack of money, that's not holding you back either. I mean, and that's just reality, because you could get money, like you can make money. Like having a scarcity over money is going to have having scarcity over money, having that free operating and thinking on that frequency only. Never mind. I don't even want to get on that that's going to be a whole nother tangent. I mean, because what you put out, what you project is what you put in, basically. So if you have a scarcity of money, you're going to keep pushing money away. If you don't have any scarcity concerning money, money's just going to come in and flow. It's an open connection. It's literally the law of attraction, as some might say. So
Yeah, that's what it sounded like a little bit, the law of attraction.
yeah. I was
And
trying to explain it in a way where it's simplified, because not everybody knows law of attraction. Not everybody knows, XYZ. So
yeah, law of attraction is interesting because it almost, I guess there's a difference between looking for those opportunities, and it's amazing how we can be blind to different opportunities because we just assume they're not there.
right, and that's operating in our box. Operating in our box. We only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, knowing that, I always try to operate and think outside my own little minded box.
When did you develop that mentality? Did you learn that at a young age, or was it just intuitive, like you just kind of knew?
No, in 2017, whenever I did a self-development training in Florida called Gratitude Training, That training changed my life. It allowed me to experience things I've never experienced, therefore changing my mindset, therefore changing my POV, therefore allowing me to take accountability for my life, everything in my life, good, bad, whatever. And they did the stuff that we did in that training, the games, the dyads, the mingles, the experiential learning aspect of that training is what transformed me in my mind in thinking in a new direction and seeing in a new way.
Tell me a little bit more about the self-development training, because there's so many programs out there. If somebody did want to pursue that, where would they, like, where should they look? I know sometimes that industry can be very much criticized for, like, oh, it's just a scam. Other people are very much into it. Is it just not marketed well? I don't know. What has been your experience?
Well, the market is very flooded, with scams, um, with people trying to sell. Uh,
The quick fix.
yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, quick fix. There we go. People are trying to sell that whenever that's not the case. And I mean, it's just like car salesmen. You have good car salesmen and then you have the crooked car salesman, but that's within any industry. But I personally feel like people maybe are going about it the wrong way. Okay, to me, a good self-development training is where it is 90% experiential and like 10% theory. And because we learn through experiences. Like I could ask you when, who was your first kiss? You're going to remember your first kiss. How'd you feel, when someone did this? We remember how people make us feel, our feelings, our experiences. And in order to shift negative and bad experiences, you have to be put through new positive experiences. And so a good self-development training has those experiences for you, not someone up there just speaking hours on end, expecting you to retain all this theory knowledge and jimble, jibber jabble, and you're like, what? I don't even know what that means. No, like you do need that 10% of that to understand the experiences that are being done. And so, to me, people get turned off with self-development seminars and everything is because it's nothing but speaking and talking, and you kind of start to nod off, and you kind of start to get bored, and you kind of start to lose your focus, and that's where you lose people. They're not in a transformational state. They may be eager to learn, they may be open to learning, but as far as being transformed, you need to get to a state of vulnerability, get to a state of feeling safe, get to a point of, there's just certain steps that you have to go through for true transformation to happen. And those couple hour seminars that people go into isn't that. And they're wanting what I'm explaining to you, that experiential training. And that was a 3-4 day training for 6-7 hours a day, multiple weekends. Of course, transformation is going to happen. What? Not, a couple hour seminar and you want to go in there, be transformed. That's not going to happen.
Do you have to hit rock bottom to get into that mentality of, okay, I'm ready to change? Or
no? I don't feel no, because I have a friend. No. You don't have to hit rock bottom in order to, now depending on what it is. Let me just say that. Now if we're talking about a drug addict, someone who's addicted to drugs, yeah, yeah, they may have to hit rock bottom, or not, but that's not for everyone too. You could have someone who's also addicted to drugs, and all they have to see is their kid crying, where's mom, like something to trigger them, to trigger that shift in them, and they commit to that action of not doing it no more. So personally, to me, no. But hard-headed people like myself, yes. So it all depends on the person and the situation and the support system that they have. But no, I don't feel like someone necessarily has to hit rock bottom in order for them to actually change. Because we can want change all day long, but it takes action to do it. But yeah.
What are some areas of your life that has been completely transformed before and after those seminars?
Areas in my life, my relationships, how I communicate with people, most importantly, my anger and my defensiveness. I was so angry. I was so, yeah, I would okay, and this is a running joke in my family. We were at a restaurant for, doing something with the whole entire family was there, and the waiter was like, ma'am, can I give you a salad? And I was like, I don't want a salad. I'm over here getting an attitude with the waiter because he asked me if I want a salad. And everyone looked at me and was like, he just asked you if you wanted a salad. So I was defensive with everything, everybody. That's whenever I say your anger will displace in other ways. It will come out in situations that you wouldn't even think it would. Yeah, when someone's asking you for a salad, that's whenever it's going to come out. So me being able to communicate with somebody effectively whenever they don't agree with me, or whenever there's a bad or negative situation, I can now effectively operate through that situation successfully without getting mad, defensive, or angry. So therefore that's transformed my relationships with everybody in my life, to name one.
And do you feel like the anger was the result of the abuse you underwent as a kid, or were there other situations that may have contributed to that?
Yes, definitely. Definitely angry for what was going on to me as a kid. I was definitely scared, frustrated, confused. But it wasn't until, okay, so whenever I was in ninth grade, I ended up getting into a relationship with somebody. And we were in an abusive relationship, mentally and physically. But to add to that, it wasn't just him, it was me too, because I was messed up in my head. So whenever I say I was in an abusive relationship, mentally and physically, I added fuel to the fire. I didn't help. So I don't want people thinking, oh, I was just some poor girl that was being abused and da 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 da. No, I chose to stay. I added gasoline, and sometimes I threw the match. So that's something I've had to take accountability for. But so that situation happened with him. I was with him for many years, probably 5 or 6 years. But we ended up getting pregnant whenever I was in high school still. So I got pregnant at 18. I had her at 18, and I had to go back to high school and graduate with, while she was just a baby. And I ended up graduating. And whenever my daughter was 3 years old, my best friend remember I had 3 older brothers, and my best friend since pre-K, she ended up committing suicide and hanging herself in the midst of me, being in an abusive relationship, being a new single mom at 18 years old, not finishing high school yet, and then my best friend commits suicide. So I don't even have my best friend to come talk to now. And I did her hair and makeup for her funeral. So I had to cover up the lacerations around her neck. I had to cover up the staples from the autopsy. And that was super traumatic for me. That experience alone literally changed my entire life. that moment is what truly numbed me, numbed my feelings, numbed everything. And that's whenever I started turning to drugs, because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I didn't know what to do about them. I've been suppressing for so long. I have so much stuff suppressed, like I'm being choked by all this, new stuff. I'm over here suffocating because I don't know what to do. I can't suppress anymore, or I'm going to explode, or I'm going to die. Basically, I'm going to commit suicide. There's only so much I can take. And so so turned to drugs because I didn't know what to do. So I was doing drugs for a very long time, very long time, very long time. And but let me back it up a little bit. In 2011 is when she died. A couple months before that, my grandmother died of congestive heart failure. So grandmother died of congestive heart failure. Best friend dies, commits suicide. A couple months after that, my other grandmother dies of breast cancer. I was actually living with her at the time, so I heard her crying at night in pain. I seen her body deteriorating every single day. She couldn't walk. My mom had to carry her to the bathroom. All kinds of stuff I had to witness all in this time. And so that is whenever I just basically kind of crumbled as a person. I couldn't be strong anymore. Like I couldn't be the rock for people anymore because I was so gone myself. I couldn't even fake it till I made it. Fake it till you make it. I couldn't even fake it till I make it. Couldn't even do it. And so so that happened to me, and I was struggling and dealing with that for many, many years. Come 2017, me and him ended up splitting up, by the way, whenever, she was 1 year old, my daughter's father. So we split up once we were together for about 5 or 6 years. But and then 2017 came around, and that's whenever I met, my ex, and that's whenever he introduced me to this training, introduced me more into the support and the self-development and everything I needed personally and everything I wanted to teach and do and become.
So, one, I want to commend you for completing high school. Many people in your situation weren't able to. What got you past the finish line to get your high school diploma?
I mean, obviously my daughter, and knowing I had a greater purpose out there. Like I knew I was supposed to do something and be something. So, and I knew in order to do that, I had to accomplish this. And I didn't even mention I had dyslexia. I have dyslexia. I've even got, excuse me, I've even got tested at the Scottish Rite Hospital and got held back in first grade because of it. Excuse me. Excuse me. So I struggled with dyslexia my entire life. This isn't like a simple struggle. No, I was in content mastery. I missed PE and music class because I was in tax lab classes because I needed help because I couldn't pass any tests. I was in summer school every single year in elementary school. Every single summer I was in summer school. So this was serious, like dyslexia. So that's something I struggled with for a like obviously now to this day. So yeah.
You got through it.
It's been tough, and I still struggle with it now, but I've learned to kind of I've learned my tools, on how to still get the end result, but I have to kind of maybe do this, and other people may just have to do. I'm over here. I'm gonna get there. Hold on. Wait a second. I got there. Still, this got the same result, but I took a different route.
You mentioned how one of the things about the self-development programs is that you were very hard-headed. Do you think that hard-headedness got you through those times?
So my hard-headedness is bittersweet type thing. It got me out of that mess, but it also kept me in that mess. I'm learning to work with it in a positive way that supports me. I need to learn when to go, when to retreat and back up, you know. I got to become aware of when I'm being hard-headed, and does it support me in what I want? So sometimes it supports me in being hard-headed, sometimes it doesn't, and I need to be aware of those moments of when it does and doesn't.
And how do you know where that line is? Is it something you just have had to learn the hard way, or do you have kind of like your own personal guide book, like, you know, in your head as far as, okay, you know, this is definitely a good situation, this is not a good situation?
Yeah, good question. Practice, like everything else in this entire world is practice. I first I had to become aware that I'm hard-headed, and then I have to become aware of the situations I'm being hard-headed about, and I have to know what my ultimate goal is. I got to know what I ultimately want. I got to ultimately know who I want to be. And all that being said, it's repetition. So in a situation comes up that I know I'm going to be hard-headed about, all right, um, is this, it's kind of like pick your battle type thing. It's like arguing. Is this really what do we really want to go there? Is this really worth it? Weigh out your pros and cons. And so and just like anger, we feel it before it comes. We start to, there's stuff there's reactions that happen within our body that we feel and notice before it actually happens. And becoming aware of those things through practice has allowed me to be able to be like, oh, here it comes, even with anger, you know, oh, here it comes, you know, and then kind of like, I feel it coming up. Oh no, that, like I often ask myself, why am I getting angry right now? I gotta check in with myself. Is it me being insecure? Is it me being fearful? Is it me being challenged? Because remember, I was defensive. So I got to check myself. All right, Marcy, why are you getting upset? Why are you being hard-headed right now? Oh, is it worth it? Do you think, you know, it supports you? Is it who you want to be? Is it who you want to show up as to this other person or to this situation? I go through a checklist with myself. I check in with myself emotionally and mentally, and then I make my decision. And sometimes there's not good decisions. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. No, hey, I'm human. No, I'm playing. But that's kind of like my process that I kind of do whenever I'm feeling angry, whenever I'm feeling defensive, whenever I'm feeling whatever type of way, hard-headed, whatever. You got to understand how your body reacts, and because you could always feel it. So understand how your body reacts and understand how you personally cope with that or deal with it or handle it. You could you can do 2-minute breath work. You could say a mantra to yourself. I am powerful. I'm not a slave to my mind, you know, or whatever. It could be whatever supports you. And that you got to find out yourself. And that's the real work. That's the real challenge, is figuring out what works for you.
Do you struggle at times forgiving yourself whenever you drop the ball in that area?
Okay. I mean, the honest answer is yes. The other side to that, the other side of the coin is, because feelings come up and emotions come up whether I want them to or not sometimes, you know. So I get that feeling of, oh, Marcy, come, you know, like that tight feeling, that but this is where I check in with myself. Okay, I have this feeling. Okay, so I tell myself, okay, I understand, like I'm feeling this way, but understand also that you're doing the best you can with what you know. You have came so far. You have, like I basically hype myself up and motivate myself whenever I do fall short. Um, I just know I do the best I can with what I know in that moment. And I just know every moment I'm doing the best that I possibly can. So I try not to beat myself up and beat myself down, because that's not effective either. That's What is that going to do for me? It's not going to do nothing for me. It just is I'm dwelling in my whatever I want to dwell in that moment. But I mean, and even doing that is okay sometimes. Okay, dwell in it. Oh, Marci, you're so bad. Okay, now let's get off of it. All right, let's get off of it. Like, okay, it's done now. All right, I felt it. I felt the feeling. And now let's move on, because I'm trying to be effective. I'm trying to be successful. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to be the best I can be. And this isn't supportive to that. I could feel it for the moment, but let's let it go.
Man, now you got that song stuck in my head. But
Oh my God. Yeah.
you have a very would you say you have a very successful Instagram profile, or
Successful. I don't know about successful, but
you
yes,
got
I
a few
do.
followers?
Yeah, I mean, it's not where I want to be, but I'm grateful for what I have, the followers I have now, of course. Of course, of course.
Now, you mentioned to me last time we talked how you hate the label Instagram model. Do you want to, I guess, elaborate on that? I know I see you rolling your eyes.
Just might not stop. Yeah, so for a long time, that's what I was labeled as. It's just an Instagram model. People would be like, so you're the Instagram model. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. They'll be like, okay, so what do you do? I'm a model. Oh, so you're just an Instagram model? You're an Instagram model. And so it would always be so negative and so shallow, like shallow as in no value. Like, oh, Instagram model equals no value, just pretty face. And and if people believe that, that's how they're going to treat you. And so I was always treated as lesser than or not valued. I was only a pretty face. That's all that people thought that I knew or could do. So yeah, it used to really kind of irritate me when people would, you can call me that, whatever, that's fine, but like they would treat me like I'm dumb, treat me like I'm stupid, treat me like I didn't know anything.
Is it because they don't know your story? Because they
Yeah.
just do everything at face value?
Yeah. Because again, remember, this at a time where I didn't talk about my pain. I didn't talk about this. I wore a mask. I wore it every day. Wore a mask. Smile. You smile. No one knew. No one suspected anything. Like, okay, so I was addicted to drugs, right? I was nobody would know I was addicted. I was a functioning addict. Nobody would know unless I told them. And so um yeah, well, okay, so remind me, I think I went off on a little tangent. See, I hate whenever I do that. What was your question one more time?
We were talking about you don't like being labeled as an Instagram model.
Yeah.
I am interested about your drug addiction, but we can get to that if you want to.
When right now?
Um, so we were talking about you being an Instagram model, how you hate being labeled as an Instagram model because it's very shallow. And then you mentioned about your drug addiction, which I find interesting. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little more. When did you get off the drugs, or?
Yeah. Yeah, so that, oh man, that when you're talking about forgiving yourself, that addiction really is what, like, when we're talking about forgiving ourselves and like, okay, like, what do I really need to forgive forgive myself for, it would be the things I did while I was like an active addict. Because I did things that people like would see on TV, see on movies, like the stuff I've seen, the stuff I experienced just for drugs, the places I've been, things I've seen. It's nobody would. If you look at me, you wouldn't think like I've been and seen some of these things. But yeah, so in 2017, I was off and on in my addiction before 2017 because I knew I wanted change in my life. And I was like teeter-tottering. I would stop, start. And I was smoking. The people are going to be like, weed, what, weed? Yeah, it was weed, but it was also pills. Like I popped pills. That's what my choice was. So I was off and on. And then in 2017, when I met, my ex, and started doing the trainings and started doing the self work, I was like slowly, getting out of that fog, out of the ball and chain that was like on my leg. But that whole situation goes so deep. So yeah, but basically my ex is the one who supported me through that, supported me through the addiction, supported me on getting clean, and supported me in all of that. So I'm very thankful, and that's why I believe, people come into your life for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. We're not together now, but he was in my life to expose me to what he exposed me to, and seeing what I seen and the possibilities. I needed it at that time, or else it was going to be a very bad situation for me.
To the drug addict that's watching this right now, is there anything you can say to inspire them to take a step in the right direction? Did you have to hit rock bottom yourself, or did you, were you just inspired to take small changes?
So I was, in essence, taking small changes for a couple years prior. And so, yes, I had to hit rock bottom. Like I said, I'm one of the hard-headed ones. And so I got to go through everything there is, to go through before I'm like, all right, I need to stop. I shouldn't do this. The one piece, because, okay, it's hard giving advice. It's hard giving advice to a drug addict because, and this isn't to be harsh or rude. All the drug addicts know, whoever's experienced, whoever is actively addicted or not actively addicted, a drug addict's gonna do what a drug addict wants to do, no matter what. No matter what. No matter what. No matter what. So my advice is, or my statement is there's a life after drugs. There's hope. There is freedom. Because when you're actively addicted, you lose the hope. Like, you don't even know what it's like to operate in a daily life without drugs. You can't even comprehend what it could be like or what it is. And to even think about life without drugs, because that's our safety net, right? I'm talking about as it, like drugs are our safety net. There are good night. Drugs are our good morning. Drugs are our relationships. Drugs are our best friend. And so an active addict, a drug is all of that to them. And so it's losing, like an addict stopping, it's like losing their best friend. It's like losing somebody. It's literally, it's like a grief process that, that one would experience. So again, my statement would be to understand and know that there is greener grass, that there is hope, that there is freedom, that there is happiness if you choose it. I can't make you do it. No, none of your people that's been trying to tell you and talk to you for years and years and years or whatever can't make you do it. They can't want it for you. You have to want it yourself. It just has to be a commitment. You gotta want it. You just gotta want it bad enough. That's it. You just gotta want it. And that's all I can say. Now, there's resources that I could share, give you, talk to you about. You know what I'm saying? There's resources that I can support you with. But as far as advice, that's hard, you know?
Well,
Generally, So, yeah.
yep, very well said. To my understanding, you and your well, now ex-husband started a company together or a business together.
We weren't ever married. We were just, boyfriend, girlfriend. Yes, we did start a self-development company together, yeah. Doing similar trainings to what I explained earlier, experiential trainings. I actually have a book in there. I have 2 books in there that I am reading in regards to that because I'm building my own curriculums. I'm doing my own trainings. I could run in there and grab it to show y'all the book if, people might want to be like, oh, that's something I want to do. How do I do that? What can I read? What can I get?
Boom, you grab the books.
I got the
Yeah.
books. Okay, so the first one I have here is Experiential Learning, a practical guide for training, coaching, and education. I really highly recommend this book. It is phenomenal. It has for example, I just opened it. Sensory experience and sensory intelligence. These are all things and activities that you can do to achieve this. The outer world and humans, anyways, I could go in deep with this. Check this out. Another phenomenal one is the Big Book of NLP. NLP is Neuro Linguistic Programming.
I've heard good things about NLP.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to read that big of a book though.
Well, okay, so these are these are experiences that you can do as well. Change. Okay, well, hold on. Let's see.
I'm just kidding. I would definitely read the whole thing, but I know most people wouldn't want to. They would feel overwhelmed by how big the book is.
Oh, this is like heaven. I open it and it literally goes, ah. So, anyways, yeah. So get these 2. They're awesome. If you're interested in writing a curriculum, doing a training, doing a workshop in self-development, it'll tell you knowledge. It'll give you actually activities to do like I was telling you about, so your people aren't just sitting in the room listening to you being bored. They're actually doing it with you, doing activities, doing something. And we learn best by doing, so that's key.
You have any success stories, funny stories from teaching those classes?
Oh man, there's well, in the trainings we kind of have to be confidential. There's confidentiality, but there's a ton of good stories, but that's gonna take like context and everything like that. It's gonna take a while, but just the whole process of setting up a training, getting people in the room, communicating with that many people, just the whole process is pretty crazy. But I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I learned how, because now I'm gonna do it, implement it, and have my own company. So
your own company. I know. I guess. Okay. Here's my question.
Yeah.
Is it a challenge to be a businesswoman running your own company in the world that we live in today?
Yes, especially in the self-development world. excuse me, whenever me and my ex-partner were together and we had high profile meetings and excuse me, when we had meetings and just meeting with men and people in general, I cannot tell you how many times people didn't even want to hear me talk, or they would dismiss what if anything I said, or like there was this one guy that said I'll only let my assistant uh get me coffee and do my appointment book. I won't even let her research or do anything like that. I mean, I get you have to have the context of the conversation, but he basically said he wouldn't even trust a woman to do research and give him the correct answers and stuff like that. And I'm over here looking around like, excuse me, and it's a room full of men. And so yes, I'm devalued, I'm looked at as lesser than. It's very, very much a man's world in that arena. That is for sure.
What are some practicals that you've used? Have you just learned to be more political, or have you learned how to work around those challenges?
The best way I've learned how to maneuver those situations successfully is being professional the entire time, being completely stand your ground. Don't let anybody walk over you, but you can stand your ground and be stern professionally and effectively, raising your voice, yelling, getting mad, trying to you know do what they expect you to do. That doesn't work. I actually feel like I have to do more. I feel like I have to overcompensate. I feel like I have to know more, do more, kind of be more than what like a male colleague has to be and do and show up as. I feel like I gotta be extra extravagant for me to be equal to the other men. So my tips, I suppose, for the ladies is to to be prepared in any and every situation, whether it be knowledge, like knowing, showing up on time, to be professional in a confrontation. Tips for women operating in a male-dominated industry.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. So the tips for women operating and functioning in a male-dominated industry. Um, you definitely have to be dot your I's and cross your T's. You have to be overly prepared. Um, you have to always be professional and have a strong and sturdy foundation, and stay true to your core values and beliefs. If you do that, nothing or nobody can shake you or make you feel insecure or lesser than. So at the end of it, at the end of the day, just always remain professional, confident, and stand your ground, because you're just as valuable, you're just as strong, you're just as courageous and confident and amazing and capable and enough to stand and sit by, the rest of the greats. And I hold myself to that standard. And so, yeah, I'm just like you. There's a saying that goes, what does it go? I am because you are, so I am because you are. You are great. I'm great because you're great. And same thing, man or woman, I'm great because they're great. I am because you are. And so I have that same mentality, but I always remain professional. No, you're not going to see me yelling, arguing, getting an attitude, even if they are disrespectful, but you go about it professionally and appropriately, and then you're going to get respect. But that just goes with anybody and everybody.
How far do you want to take your company?
As far as God will allow me to, I want to have I want to have mental health facilities around everywhere around the United States. I also want to be involved in the emergency systems for like the police department, the paramedic. I want to be a part of that process whenever the police and the paramedics and the firefighters are dispatched out to certain areas. I want to have a curriculum or create some sort of program where the officers and the emergency workers are better equipped to handle mental mental health cases, because most of the time, nine times out of 10, the officers and whatnot they're not trained to be able to effectively work with mental health people. And so they end up getting shot and killed and everything because they don't know what to do. Of course, they're not complying, but they don't know. So I want to definitely get into that system, get into the prison system, as far as getting the prisoners acclimated to life, so it's going to be in prison. This is what I plan on having. I plan on having a program where it acclimates the prisoners into everyday living life. So they go from the prison. So we're going to start acclimating them months before they get out, and then we're going to assist them with services, mental health services, living services, and resources after they get out, so they don't come back. They usually come back is because they don't have anything they don't have any support and they don't have anything. So they do what they know, get in trouble, and they come back and they get taken care of and blah, 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 blah. So I want to keep people out of jail. I want to keep people out of the prison system. And I want to make sure that they are right mentally, because they're going to be living with all of us and our families. So I want to make sure they are good mentally. So aside from those two programs and associations that I want to be partnering with, I want to have my mental health centers all around the United States or worldwide if possible. Well, anything is possible, but
Because of the law of attraction.
There we go.
Well, if you had started the interview sharing that vision, I would have had some doubts, but after hearing your story, I have no doubt that you will accomplish all that, because you've been through a lot, and you've definitely have inspired a lot of people to keep persevering through those tough times. Is there anything that you any like other inspirational words that you like to give people that are thinking of giving up, that are in a tough situation, that has helped you just keep going? Is there anything else that you've thought of, or
Yeah, I do have some I guess motivational or inspirational words I would like to add to all this. The reason why I started doing all this was the reason why I took the leap and took the step in the transition in my career, obviously was because of my best friend passing away. That moment is whenever I knew I was going to stop doing what I was doing and start helping people, because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're alone in their situation, or they're alone in what they're going through or battling. Because when you're in those moments and you're in those times, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like you're the only one that's experiencing it. You're the only one that has or is feeling this, and there's no way out. And I want to give them a way out. I want to give them a light. I want to give them a raft to throw. You know, I don't want people to feel like they're alone, and they're not alone. And there's many resources that people can go to, use. There's hotlines, there's Facebook groups, there's meetings. If you Google meetings in your area, whether it be addiction, depression, suicide, there's so many people out there that can support you. But people can't support you if you don't talk, if you don't speak up. How can people support you and be there for you if you don't say anything? So don't self-sabotage yourself by feeling these things and not saying anything about it. That does nothing for you. It hurts you. You're already hurting enough. Get support, get the help, reach out, speak. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to say anything to you negatively. Reach out to the resources, the people, and you'll be okay. And so that's my main goal, is not wanting people to feel like they're alone. And the other main thing is not speaking up and saying something about it whenever there is. And I know there's a lot of self-limiting beliefs concerning that. Speaking up, saying something, whether you've been raped, whether whatever it is, it's hard to speak up, but it's definitely worth it. And that needs to happen if you don't want to end up like me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Before we end our time together, if anyone wants to contact you to either ask questions, or maybe they feel inspired by your vision and want to help out in some way, where's the best place for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. People can always email me at Marci Miller Speaks, which is MARCI Miller, MILLER Speaks, SPEAKS @gmail.com. They can email me anytime, no matter what time, and I will reply. Or they can go to my Instagram at Marci's Life, MARCISLIFE, or Marci Miller on Facebook, MARCIMILLER. And yeah, reach out, talk. It doesn't matter what time, it doesn't matter about what. I'll be there to support no matter what.